So we're nearly at the end of this first season. We're on episodes 5 and 6. We're kind of, things are starting to escalate, as we'll get to soon, especially in episode 6, things really start to get going. But episode 5, I found was really interesting as well. In the last episode, we kind of saw how Jesse's family had sort of influenced him here, and it looks like he at first wants to come clean and to become once again, a productive member of society, something he's never really done before. And he tries that for a little while until he realizes, nope, too hard. I am going to simply go back to what I was doing and what I know how to do. But of course, without his partner there that he had for like one episode, it is not as easy for him. He gets this new partner, and things don't go too well, because this new partner, I forget his name, but he isn't taking things seriously at all, which is kind of ironic, because if I remember correctly, in the first episode, Jesse was kind of joking around as well. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't taking things too seriously as well. And now he's kind of in the position where he realizes, okay, if I want to make serious money here, I need to be serious, and his partner isn't realizing that, and he realizes that unless he can get back with his old partner, things just aren't going to work out nearly as well. I say nearly as well, but I guess they didn't really work out well last time either, but I think that now, at this point, he knows how to fix that if he gets a second chance, which, of course, he will very soon. One thing I also noticed here in episode 5 is Walter gets this new chance to to get the money he needs for his treatment and to help his family and great things, and he turned it down, and at the moment I can't quite remember if there was a specific stated reason as to why, but what it looked like to me is it was mostly a pride thing. He really does not want to accept help from other people, because for his entire life, he never really has. And if he accepts defeat now, and he accepts the help of either Hank or of, I forgot the guy's name, his old business partner, if he accepts anyone's help, it's kind of giving in, and he really does not want to do that, even if it would help with his family's financials. And he is still concerned about that. After he's gone, they're going to need help. But I don't know, he's stubborn, I guess, is all there is to it. Also, I will say, I mentioned Hank a bit there. He is starting to grow on me. He's a bit abrasive at first, but you can tell that he does really care about all the people in his family, and he maybe isn't the most charismatic person out there, but he does care in his own way, and that feels kind of cliche to say, but I think it's worth mentioning, because I don't dislike him nearly as much as I did at first. I think that's been true for not just him, but for Marie, for Skylar, for a couple of these characters. I also I find it interesting how Walter kind of gives a reason why he doesn't want this treatment, and I do think the pride thing still stands, but there's one other thing, and it's he also just wants to have a choice, at least according to him, and he articulates this in a very human way, where it's kind of hard for him to find the exact words, and this is the best he can come up with, but he wants a choice, and yet, ironically, the choice he's making is the most passive choice he can make. It leaves him with the least of a real choice to make, because he can kind of just sit by and let things happen, and that's the choice he's making. I feel like if he made the other choice to take the treatment, that's more of an active decision on his part, which seems to be what he wants, but it's not what he's taking. He's taking the less active decision that he could. Just something I noticed. And considering last time I read the comment of from Evan about how the show just apparently gets more crazy over time, that's good, and I'm waiting for that, and I feel like we kind of got some of that in episode 6. I feel like episode 6 already ended really crazy, and it was great, and we'll talk about that. But even with that, I think that where the show really shines so far is with these little character moments. The sort of not intervention that Walter's family has with him, where they try and help him, and it's done so well. I feel like I keep saying this in these episodes. It feels so natural, and if you set up a camera in a house, don't do this. If you set up a camera in a house with a group of people, a family, and they're trying to have a real heart-to-heart talk, I feel like it would play out just as naturally as this does, and I feel like, you would be unable to tell a difference between which is a fake family, a group of actors, and which is a real family, and that's really impressive. How for this show, which I think when it started did not have the biggest budget, how they managed to get such fantastic actors to play every single character we've seen so far. Like, I can't think of any that really stand out poorly. I do, though, I wonder how different the show will feel in the end, considering that it apparently just kind of escalates over time. I wonder, by the time that we get to the end, how different things will feel. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I feel like we're going to find out. Also, towards the end of the episode, where they show what I can't say for sure, but what I assume is the chemotherapy starting, they do a great job of showing just how terrifying that must feel. I don't know, maybe that's just the process, and that's just how I feel looking at it. But it seems very scary, and almost otherworldly. It reminds me of, and this is weird because this is entirely different, but it reminds me of a few sequences from Requiem for a Dream for some reason, even though that covers very different procedures and subject matter and everything, just the horrors of like what can be done to the human body, even when it's intentional and when it's us as humans meddling with it ourselves to help it, how scary that can still feel and how it can feel like we're kind of meddling with something that we shouldn't be meddling with. That's just kind of what I got from it. I don't think that's at all intentional. I think it's just a scene to show that, but it was almost scary, and I don't know why that is. Before we get to episode 6 in a second, and spoilers for Death Note, you'll see why in a second. That seems like sort of counterintuitive, but spoilers for Death Note. I keep seeing those memes where, Walter falls down crying, and it looks to me like his hands are behind his back. I've been analyzing it a lot, even though I shouldn't. And it makes me think that he's going to get arrested at some point. I don't know if that's going to be the end of the series. I think maybe. What I've said this in the first episode, what I'm predicting for the end of the series is I think by the end, probably not in the show, but maybe in one of the movies, I think he's going to die, and I think that's going to be the end of it, but he's not going to die from the cancer. That's too passive. I think he's going to die from one of his own choices, backfiring, and while at a certain point he gets to a position of power and a position where he feels like he's in control of the situation, that is when things start to derail, and that's when he's going to die, not from his cancer or anything like that, but from one of the own decisions that he makes, and I think that's why it's going to be so devastating to him. I don't know if I'll be able to take that scene seriously when it does come, because of the memes, but we'll see. And also, getting to the Death Note thing, I think it's going to be a similar ending to that, where the protagonist is kind of, in that show, Light wants to basically rule the world. He wants to control everything, and he's basically given the power to do so, just randomly one day, and it leads to him sort of having this false sense of power about himself, and that goes well for him for a little while, but eventually it leads to his downfall, and it's what I mentioned earlier, how pride comes before the fall, and that's what happened to Light. He thought he was invincible because even L couldn't stop him, but now, with this show, I think it's going to be similar, where Walter gets to a point where he is almost unbeatable, and then he gets a little too confident, and then he's very beatable. That's what I think we're kind of going to end up with here. Moving on to episode 6, we've been mostly talking about episode 5 so far. Let's talk a bit about stuff specifically from episode 6. I think last time I mentioned that I think Walter's going to end up sort of controlling the more technical side of things, the more things more related with chemistry when it comes to his and Jesse's whole little business they got going on, and Jesse is going to more so handle the social aspect of it. He's going to handle the customers, he's going to strike up the deals, because he's better at that, and they're both going to kind of play to their strengths like that. And that is, right in the beginning of episode 6, that's what is stated is going to happen. And also at the beginning of episode 6, we see a bit of a flash forward to like later in that episode of Walter's signature bald dome, his intimidating bald dome, and that's how things are really getting serious here, as we'll see later in the episode. He's also immediately, it seems a bit sudden, but he's immediately acting more assertive and sure of himself, which is something that I'm sure is only going to amplify itself later on in the series. It sucks that I have a note here about Hugo. I wrote it before we find out what happens to him, that he kind of gets framed in a way. I wrote that he is, quote, a real one. I don't know, I liked his character, and it's a shame that he got totally stabbed in the back, although unintentionally, for something he did not do or have anything to do with. Seems like he did do some shady stuff, but, he was convicted for definitely the wrong crime, but that at least sort of takes the heat off of Walter for now. It doesn't look like it's entirely off him. It seems like Hank is maybe starting to suspect him, but it's hard to say. I don't know. He plays it off as a joke, so I find it hard to tell. It might be nothing, but we're definitely starting to lean in that direction. Also, one more thing. Hank's comment about the ass like an onion. It's probably the best line in the series so far, and probably the best line of the rest of the show. Just thought I would say that. And the last thing I have here to talk about for these 2 episodes before we talk about the finale and the whole season 1 next time is the final scene where Walter sort of gets revenge for Jesse. It seems like that is sort of... It seems like he's not doing that for business reasons. It seems like he's doing that specifically to sort of pay back for Jesse. So maybe it seems like he cares about him a little bit. I don't know. I might be looking into that too much because they haven't been together too much, and they actually kind of hate each other, it seems, at times. But, otherwise, I don't know why he would go back there. It didn't really help their business much. It seems like that was purely for revenge. And maybe that's just because Jesse was important to his business and now he's incapacitated for a while, or maybe it's because he cares about Jesse a little bit and he wants to get these guys back for what they did to him. I can't quite say for sure, but I feel like we're going to find out fairly soon. Anyway, that's all I have for these 2 episodes here. As I mentioned, next time we're going to be talking about episode 7, the finale of season 1, and also just season 1 as a whole. So, that's perfect timing. It looks like my notes app just force refreshed for some reason. I don't know what the term is for that, but something happened, so perfect timing. Thank you all for watching once again. Surprised you're still sticking around, but I'm not complaining. It's a smaller second channel, so it doesn't have the same amount of reach, but it's great to just be able to talk about this because I'm finding this show really fascinating, and it is great to sort of be able to put my thoughts into words and also have a record of it for later when I want to come back and see what I thought about the show when I was starting it. So that's about it. Thank you. See you.